Is this the end of Richard Jennings? I'm Alma Lingua, and today I'm talking about the final entry in the Flesh trilogy, the demented saga of a cuckolded weapons expert who wouldn't take it anymore. Written, produced, directed, edited, and starring Michael Findlay. What about the woman behind the man? His wife Roberta Findlay co-produced, co-wrote, and did the cinematography and lighting for the trilogy. However, she always downplays or denies her involvement in these films, insisting she was underage and she didn't know what she was doing.
Sure!
Although cast and crew members recall her active involvement in the productions. And Ashley West of Reality Report managed to pull her birth certificate from New York City Public Records and found her birth year to be 1943, which means she was in her early 20s when the Flesh movies were made. Notoriously and hilariously grouchy, Roberta went on to direct her own movies, a rarity as a female director making sexploitation, horror, and, for the sake of YouTube, what I'll call adult movies.
Nudies! That's all they are. Nudies.
Even though she insists the only reason she made any of her movies was to make a buck, and because she enjoyed doing camera work and lighting, there's been a renewal in critical interest in Roberta's films, including academic essays rebranding her as a feminist icon. Which I think would make Roberta laugh because she's always said in interviews how much she despises other women. One internet reviewer of Angel Number 9, her adult film in which a sexist man is reincarnated in the body of a woman, commented that he thought she was trying to convey a feminist message, but that must have gotten jumbled because instead the film seems to be making the point, if only men knew how petty, mean-spirited, and horrible women are. Yeah, I think that was Roberta's point. Although from what I gather, I don't think Roberta likes people in general.
People are scum.
She was born Rubina Hershkowitz to a Hungarian Jewish family in a townhouse in the southeast Bronx. Like Michael, she was the youngest of 3 siblings. Her father was a violent bully who suffered from agoraphobia. Describing years of physical abuse at his hands, Roberta recalls being terrified of him as a child. Her mother was emotionally absent, what Roberta calls a gray individual, a non-entity. Her much older siblings were distant and resentful. When asked in her interview with Ashley West if she had any happy childhood memories, she responded, "I can't think of any. I read a lot." She describes a lonely childhood and adolescence in which she suffered agoraphobia and panic attacks, her severe anxiety preventing her from making any friends. In addition to reading, playing the piano provided some solace for her. She started playing at age 5, progressing rapidly from nursery rhymes to classical composers. Considered to be a prodigy, her parents took an interest in her for the first time in her life, pressuring her to become a concert pianist. She practiced for hours every single day, but did not enjoy any of it. Because of her reading skills, Roberta was accelerated through school, skipping 2 grades, and graduated high school before she was barely 15. She was 12 when she performed her first solo concert at Carnegie Recital Hall in a competition for the American Music Teachers Guild. Her first experience with the opposite sex was when she was a 13-year-old high school student with a married 30-something child psychologist. Interviewed by Ashley West, Roberta said, "I was never interested or curious about sex, or even excited about it. I liked it at times, but I just did what I was told. It wasn't important to me. I guess I knew the whole thing wasn't right." She also began smoking and drinking at an early age, both of which she continues today. If you're wondering why Richard Jennings is looking doughier in this one, Roberta told Ashley West that she introduced Michael and all her future partners to alcohol. "They all took to drinking in a big way after me," she says. She's been more agreeable about doing interviews and commentaries in recent years, but she's repeatedly stated that she thinks the people who love these movies are disturbed and have psychological problems. Is that true? Now, some of my school counselors might agree with her, but I guess it's debatable. Although being in the company of alleged normal, well-adjusted people makes me feel like taking a chainsaw to Starbucks.
Look at that. Look at those assholes over there. Ordinary fucking people. I hate them.
Anyway, like I was saying.
Movie!
Okay. Richard Jennings, the beloved eye-patched vengeance-seeking spree killer, is back. And his mission this time... I'm not sure what his mission is.
All right, here's how it works. Everybody's gotta go.
Anyway, he's posing as a German doctor dispatching random women in creative ways.
What's this? A girl in the road. Another beast to get rid of.
But unfortunately for him, he runs afoul of Maria and her doofus boyfriend. Maria's got a bone to pick with our friend Richard for insensitively murdering her sister's best friend. Okay, this is getting kind of lame. In the first film, his ultimate goal is to kill his cheating wife, Claudia. And in the second film, his ultimate goal is revenge on Steve for making a cuckold out of him. But now he's killed Claudia, and he succeeded in eradicating Steve's ugly penis from this earth.
Waiting to chop the ugly penis from your body.
Excuse me if this new storyline doesn't have the same dramatic punch. Regrettably for our anti-hero, he also makes a few more victim choices that give our polymorphously perverse blonde heroine reasons for revenge. And she has a few creative tricks up her sleeve as well. After the ambitiousness of Curse, Kiss feels like the Findlays were phoning it in with this one. And they might have been, as this was released in the same year as Curse, along with their next film, 1,000 Pleasures. Kiss feels much cheaper than Curse and returns to non-sync sound, but it lacks the demented silent movie style of touch of her flesh. Jennings is the protagonist in the first two films, but he's sidelined a lot more in this one, with Maria really being the protagonist. And she's boring. At the point in the series, he's morphed into a cartoon supervillain, and all his pulpy purple prose I loved so much in the previous two is sorely missing here.
Burn, slut, burn, symbol of women. Dirty pink flesh. The snow and the fire will purify your soul.
As sexploitation eased towards the 1970s, relaxed standards meant filmmakers could now show full frontal female nudity, and emphasis shifted to prolonged simulated sex scenes versus extenuated striptease numbers. Watching Kiss, I always felt like something was missing, and I realized I missed all the long drawn-out burlesque numbers. I feel like any Richard Jennings movie watching experience isn't complete until I hear strip blues at least 3 times.
All you girls are the same. Out for cheap thrill.
But I don't want to sound all negative. How could I possibly dislike a movie that features murder by deadly douche? Bonus because Michael, being an Alfred Hitchcock fan, squeezed an homage to Psycho in that scene too, lending the douche death some class. Kiss has the most outrageous kills of the trilogy, and some of the funniest moments in the 3 films.
So long, sucker!
Overall though, I kinda wish one of my favorite Psycho anti-heroes got a more monumental, explosive finale.
Show Dick some respect.
Although between this and Multiple Maniacs, you will never look at a lobster the same way again. You know who the actor is playing Don the Dork, Maria's boyfriend? That actor's name is Earl Hindman. He worked with the Findlays again in Ultimate Degenerate, released the following year. But he was best known to mainstream America as the lovable wise neighbor Wilson on Home Improvement. That honestly makes that show a lot funnier. The Ultimate Degenerate may also have been the beginning of the end for the Findlays' relationship, as after the film wrapped, Roberta gave birth to a daughter. In his memoir, John Amaro writes that in the mid-1970s, Mike confided to me that Roberta wanted to put up their daughter for adoption. Mike had hoped having a child would bring them closer together, but instead, it pulled them further apart. It was evident from the start that Roberta had little interest or aptitude for motherhood. I saw this firsthand as I sometimes babysat their little girl. Mike ended up doing everything for the baby, and it was clear he was brokenhearted by his wife's haphazard attitude towards motherhood and her desire to give their daughter up. We spent many nights in conversation about this heartache, becoming even closer during this time. Their daughter was put up for adoption, and the Findlays separated. Not long after the separation, Roberta hitched up with possibly the most despised man in the exploitation business, distributor Alan Shackleton. After Jamie Gillis remembers, Mike, as I recall, was pretty devastated when Roberta moved out. I didn't know him that well, but I saw he retreated into himself and started resembling the character he played on screen in the Flesh movies, mumbling, unkempt, and withdrawn. Those close to him said he numbed the pain by taking Valium, washed down with copious amounts of beer. To pull him out of his funk, Amaro approached him with a proposal he had received to make a gay adult feature. He knew it was going to be a tough conversation, and despite their close friendship, they had never discussed Amaro's homosexuality. Michael finally agreed, and Michael and Amaro made a series of gay adult films under the pseudonym Francis Ellie, a combination of their middle names. Michael drifted away from filmmaking and became more involved with lenses and optics, developing a portable 3D system called Super Depth. After making a 3D adult film using test footage he and Amaro shot, some Taiwanese filmmakers signed a contract with him to use the equipment for 2 kung fu films, with Michael as a technical advisor. Jamie Gillis, running into Michael midtown around this time, noted Michael was more upbeat than he'd seen him in ages, very excited about the new opportunities in front of him. On May 16, 1977, Michael was going to Cannes to exhibit the camera, hoping to raise money from investors so he could turn his 3D system into a commercial venture. Having overcome his fear of flying via hypnosis, he paid $25 to take a 10-minute helicopter ride to JFK Airport. Amaro and his brother Len met Michael one last time to see him off on his trip, hugging him goodbye and wishing him luck. What happened next became known as the notorious Pan Am helicopter crash. As passengers were waiting to board, the right landing gear of the helicopter failed while the aircraft was parked with its rotors turning. The helicopter rolled to its right, killing 5 people. Michael was one of them. John Amaro says, "Mike had been like a brother to me, and his importance in my life is impossible to overstate. We shared innumerable hours talking happily about films. We made our first film together and continued to make movies with each other over the years. We'd experienced life's ups and downs together, and creating Francis Ellie had brought us even closer together. The gangly, awkward, and lovely young man I'd met in the shipping department of ABC was now gone before he was even 40 years old. I felt immense sadness for many years after, and I still think about Mike to this day." In Sleazoid Express, Bill Landis writes, "Mike Findlay remains an inspiration to low-budget filmmakers, an idol of sleazemongers, and one of exploitation's best, most dedicated and imaginative, most missed talents." For the research on this show, I used John Amaro's memoir, American Ecstasy, and 2 excellent articles written for the Rialto Report. I'm linking all 3 down below if you'd like to check those out. If you haven't had enough roughy sleaze, you've come to the right place. Join me next week for the often overlooked Roughie, produced by and featuring David F. Friedman and directed by Lee J. Frost, The Pickup. But until then, stay sick.